Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people from all over the world, this is G with Scampone Personal Training. Today I'd like to talk about isometrics and professional sports, specifically why all pro sports teams and just any sports team is in general, all the way down to youth level, should be implementing isometrics into their training program. Reason number one, a change of direction is a zeroing out of velocity. This zeroing out is an isometric contraction. So when an athlete goes to change direction, for example, in a basketball court, they stop, plant. There is a second in time where there is no movement. This no movement is an isometric contraction. If the athlete is weak in their isometrics, the movement will create inertia because the muscles will not contract enough and the load and the inertia will go to the ligaments. If you see anyone cut on their left leg and pop their ACL out, my theory is there wasn't enough muscle tension to take the load off of the ligaments and the ligament popped. So any sort of change of direction, no matter how you put it, requires an instantaneous muscle contraction that is an isometric. This shows up in football, soccer, any sport that you play that requires you to change directions is an isometric contraction. Even sprinting, track, the stance to start before you begin moving requires an tensity of the muscles, and then the body begins to move. This split second of tension before your get off is an isometric muscle contraction. Additionally, any stance that you're in, baseball stance, isometrics, football, three-point stance, isometrics, you are contracting your muscles, holding in position without moving your limbs. When I was coaching football, everything began with a stance. If your stance was not great, your get off would be not great. You'd be late to the spot. Your timing would be poor. Your performance would be affected. Let's go back to the stance and let's train stance. Not only train stance on the field, let's train stance in the gym. Why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we start where it all starts? We go right directly into dynamic movement and we forget about what it takes to get moving. Every movement begins with an isometric contraction. Additionally, an isometric workout is less abrasion and impact on the joints because there's no movement, there's less shearing force, there's no change of direction at the joints. It's safer for the joints. So not only are we getting stronger and more muscular and increasing tendon strength and stiffness, which is what I will get to, but we are also eliminating or reducing the wear and tear we're having on our joints. Tendon stiffness, tendon strength. Studies show that isometrics improve tendon strength and stiffness. Why do we want that? When we go to change direction and we plant, say for example, this is our knee, we plant, we want the tendon to be stiff to absorb force so that there's no play and wiggle in the joint. Because if this is your knee, your lower leg plants, your knee is the fulcrum, the tension and force goes to the fulcrum, the inertia and the force from the upper body plays a factor. So your bottom leg is planted, your upper body is still moving. If that tendon there at the fulcrum isn't strong enough, it will take the force. There'll be play. That little bit of play, even if it's a 2 centimeters, takes on a mathematical disadvantage at that joint. And that's where we get tendon tears and ruptures. being able to, at that split second when the lower leg is planted, the fulcrum of the knee, being able to increase muscle tension is going to stabilize that knee and absorb the force distributed to the fulcrum. Isometrics is easier to recover from. There's no eccentric muscle damage. So the actin and myosin overlap and they connect to each other. And then there's an eccentric action, and that starts to pull and tear the small muscle fibers and those cross-sectional areas apart. And that's where you get your muscle tears from, which is a good thing for hypertrophy, as studies show. But it takes longer for the muscle to recover because we're literally damaging the muscle tissue, which is what we want, but not the only thing we want. But now we don't have to worry about crushing the body with a high intensity session for our athletes, knowing they have practice later on that night and they're having to recover from the workout and the practice. Let's just let them have to recover from the practice and let our isometrics be more of a builder rather than a destroyer. Additionally, isometrics improves neuromuscular communication. So you're able to create maximum amount of tension on the muscle. That extra muscle fiber that's recruited is demanding more of your nervous system to fire. And then you hold that muscle contraction for a long duration, and it's training over the time under tension for that nerve to activate more muscle fiber whenever it needs to. So your nervous system, when you go to change direction, is trained to deliver more cross-sectional areas and more contraction of the muscle fiber. So for example, say before you add isometrics to your program, you're only able to generate 80% of your muscle fiber. Now we can get that up to 90%. And that extra 10% is going to assist with strength, speed, injury prevention, joint stabilization, and so on and so forth. So really, it's, to me, a no-brainer. And you will continue to get strong, no question about it. Another thing to point out is when you're doing isometric contraction, you usually have multiple points of pressure and resistance. Let's see if I can get us here into the screen so I can explain this further. Let's see if I can get myself in the corner. Okay. I'm going to go to my YouTube here. All right, let's see. Okay, let's just pull this up. I mean, I can't believe that there's an ad. Are we kidding me, G? What are we doing here? Okay, so here's the IsoFit. Let's see if okay, perfect, a deadlift. So here I'm doing a deadlift, and can you see my mouse? Yeah, you can see my mouse, right? Okay, so the pressure and the resistance is at your hands and at your feet. So you're wedging yourself between the bar and the platform. With that 2 points of resistance, your body has to isometrically contract from head to toe to keep your bones in alignment. So if you didn't isometrically contract here, you would topple over and just fall over. So it's forcing the entire body to stabilize, specifically your spinal structure and your abdominal area. These muscles are keeping me in somewhat of an upright position, but stopping me from succumbing to the resistance of the bar and the floor and just falling on my face. So it is working the small muscle fibers where if you were just to sit in a chair and do like a shoulder press, your hip flexors would not be working and your calf muscles would not be working and your spine may be working a little bit, but it would just be working against gravity. Is this making any sense to anybody? I hope this is making sense to you. So your whole body needs to work so that you're not just condensing like a spring. So we're not missing out on any musculature just from doing this one deadlift here. Okay, the whole body is working. Yes, there may be some muscles that are taking more of the load, but the whole body is working to stay in position. Okay, the next thing I want to look at is how isometric shows up on the field. Okay, I hope there's not another. Oh, geez. Oh, my God. This is wildly embarrassing. Wildly embarrassing. I'm on my normal account. I do pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't have to go through this. So my normal account does not have YouTube Premium. This is just wildly embarrassing. Hang on. Bear with me, people. Good thing I pay for YouTube Premium. I mean, if you don't, then you're out of your mind, because I lose my mind if I had to watch these ads. Okay, so let's take a look here. Okay, not much change of direction there, but I'm sure we'll get one right away. Baker Mayfield playing well. Okay, everyone's in their stance, right? So everyone's holding a yielding isometrics right now as we speak. If your isometric strength is poor, you'll have poor posture in your stance, and you'll have to correct your stance and then drive through the ground before you can have a proper get off. So isometrics is also working posture that allows the structure of the spine to be in a mechanically sound position so you can get off of your stance, out of your stance as fast as possible. So let's see what we get here. Okay, we get a little end around. I'm looking for a plant and pivot here. Maybe we can get a wide receiver route that's going to show us that. Okay, boom, right there. So Baker Mayfield right here on his 3-step drop. That might have been a 5-step drop, but on his drop, his back leg plants. From this point, there needs to be an upregulation of isometric tension before he can probably take a step forward, which he does. Now, also, his hand goes back. I wish I could catch that. His hand's going to go back. Boom. Okay, right here. His hand is changing direction. His hand's changing direction. His shoulder's changing direction. So, see if I can get this. He's here. Where am I? He's here. The tension of the muscle needs to increase before it's able to generate force to change direction. So it's getting not only your legs, your knees, but any fulcrum you have in your body is requiring you to upregulate the isometric contraction. Let's see if we can get a true change of direction that is causing a athlete to juke someone. Okay, Lamar Jackson does a lot of juking, so I'm sure if we can get him going here. Boom. Boom, right there. A little hesitation step, and then a plant on the outside leg. It shows up time and time again, no matter what you're looking at. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you'll see this now. Once you see it, you can't. Once you see it, you can't not see it. Once you see it, once you see it, you can't not see it. I think that's how the saying goes. But keep this in mind. It will also help to reduce overtraining because our athletes, specifically in the NFL, are doing about like 12 to 16 weeks of dynamic exercise before they even start their first game. And a lot of them are injured before they even start game one. And you'll see this in the NBA already. We're getting star athletes, elite athletes in the NBA that have to take what do they call them, rest days, the first 3 games. It's a long season. We haven't even started yet, and they're already banged up. And I think that's due to overtraining in the off season and not enough isometric exercise implemented in their regimen. The narrative is bound to change because we have these high paid, high entertainment athletes that are on the sideline. And that's not good for the pockets of the owners. So something's going to have to change soon because injuries continue to increase. So I'm hoping that there's someone smart at the top that does some research on isometrics and starts to change the narrative. We just need a couple athletes, a couple top athletes to implement this, succeed, and then spread the word to the rest of the world, and the ball gets rolling. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for joining me. Please like, subscribe, and share. Leave any comments below. If you did injure yourself playing sports, let me know how you did that. And let me know if you believe your isometric force generation played a role in that. Also, if you feel you've overtrained during your playing years or days, then also let me know that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people from all over the world, thank you. Over and out.